Hello guys, this is your friend. And we are back with our new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto awakes multiple bloodlines and he was put under CRA to restore the Uzumaki clan? Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button. And please subscribe to the channel, it motivates me to upload more fanfics like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfic. Time skip. Next day. Naruto woke up from great dream and proceeded to get ready for the team placement that would take place today. After getting ready for the day, Naruto pulled out Iruka's technique and began to read it as he headed to the academy. As he read the scroll, his mind began to wonder what people would make up the teams. Hokage office. The Sandaime Hokage sat in front of the Jonin instructors waiting for the last person to arrive. Cough, Kakashi. Cough, Kakashi shined into the room and received a cold glare from the rest of the ninja present. The Hokage then began the meeting by saying, "Hello everyone, today you will be receiving your genin teams. As many of you have read the genin candidate file, I am taking suggestions for team placement." Instantly Asuma stepped forward and said, "I would like to be the instructor of Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi. Their abilities work together perfectly and they have a great potential." The Hokage nodded and said, "That is what I was thinking, so that team formation is granted." Kakashi stepped forward next and said, "I request Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno." The Hokage instantly said, "Denied. I have other plans for Naruto, so you may have Sasuke and Sakura, but the third member will be a boy that goes by the name of Sai." Kakashi stood there speechless. He could not believe that he didn't get to train his sensei's son, but then a thought occurred to him and he spoke to the Hokage once again, "Sir, who will be Naruto's sensei?" The Hokage looked back to Kakashi and said, "Anko will be Naruto's Jonin instructor. I have decided to make Naruto a one-man genin team due to his ability and the fact that he was Rookie of the Year." Everyone looked at the Hokage like he was insane. Then Kurenai Yuhi decided to voice the group's thoughts. "Hokage-sama, according to Naruto's file, he is the dead last of his class." The Hokage began to snicker and said, "Here, this is Naruto's updated file. Why don't you look it over and tell me that I am wrong in making him into a one-man team?" As the Hokage handed a file to Kurenai. Kurenai took the file, and glanced over the file. After 2 minutes, Kurenai looked at the Hokage and said, "This can't be right. This says that he scored a perfect score on the academy exam and he even is able to use the shadow clone jutsu." Everyone in the room looked shocked at what Kurenai just announced, with a few exceptions. Anko decided to finally make her presence known. "This Yaki sounds interesting and I thought I was going to get stuck with 3 snot-nosed brats." The Hokage turned to Anko and said, "Anko, I am putting Naruto under you because I believe you can continue his training. I am also making your team an assassination and backup team for when mission go wrong. The hard-hitting team, if you will. Naruto is too strong to put with the Sasuke Uchiha because it would lead to Suisake looking for any means to beat Naruto, which will make his loyalty questionable. Thus he would make a very good cleaner for when missions become too difficult for the genin originally assigned the task." Anko smiled at the team's purpose and said, "I can't wait to meet this kid and test him myself. If half of what you say is true, then he will be interesting to say the least." The Hokage smiled at Anko and said, "I advise you to take Naruto very seriously. While we do have a guess of how powerful he is, we are certain how strong he is, and he has a cunning mind that allows him to create strategies on the fly that would outsmart most Nara in a fight. The only thing he lacks is battle experience." Anko's smile only increased and said, "I can't wait to meet this brat." The Hokage then turned to continue on with team placement and said, "Kurenai, I am assigning Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga and Kiba Inuzuka to you as a tracking team." The Hokage continued placing teams with instructor, and when he finally finished said, "Well, go collect your teams and test them to see if they are worthy of becoming genin." The Jonin in the room left in a flash to go collect their teams. While meeting was taking place, Naruto entered his classroom and walked to an empty seat next to Hinata. Sitting down, he turned to the blue-haired girl and said, I know this may be kind of sudden, but you like to go on a date sometime. Instantly Hinata went red in the face due to a massive blush and fainted on the spot. Falling forward, Naruto caught her before she could hit her head and leaned Hinata's head against his chest so she would be comfortable. While this was going on, a couple of people realized that Naruto in the room. Sasuke decided to find out why. Hey Dobi, why are you here? Didn't you fail the Genin exam? Naruto glared back at the Uchiha and said, in case you're blind duck ass, I am wearing a Konoha headband, which means I passed. Sasuke then noticed the headband and turned around to brood. Sakura then decided to defend her crush by attempting to hit Naruto while saying, don't talk to Susuke that way, Naruto baka. Naruto easily caught the punch and focused some ki at the pink banshee and said, I suggest you stop yelling first of all because you are rather annoying, and second, don't try to hit me because next time I won't just catch it. After Sakura went back to her seat, Hinata woke up. Naruto looked down at the girl and said in a sweet calm voice, have a nice nap, Hinata-chan. Hinata instantly bolted upright and looked at Naruto once again with a blush that could make a tomato jealous. Naruto asked his question again, seeing as Hinata looked confused, and said, so do you want to go out sometime? Hinata nodded her head, not trusting her words. Great, how about tomorrow at 7? I will pick you and we will go to dinner. Sound good, said an enthusiastic Naruto. Hinata said in a quiet voice, that is perfect, Naruto too, I will see you then. Naruto smiled and said, okay then, it's a date. Naruto turned to the front of the room just as Iruka walked in the classroom. Everyone quieted down, eager to hear what teams they will be on. Iruka began with a boring speech about being a ninja and stuff like that before he began reading off the teams and their senseis. Naruto tuned out most of what Iruka said until he heard, Team 11, Naruto Uzumaki, and your sensei will be Anko Mitarashi. Iruka finished and said, good luck in your ninja careers, and I am proud to call you all my students. Iruka walked out of the classroom and everyone waited for the Jonin to arrive. Suddenly the classroom door was kicked in and a woman with spiky purple hair walked in and said in a loud commanding voice, which one of you is Naruto Uzumaki? The whole class pointed the Naruto and the woman spoke again, all right, you are with me, now follow me and we will start. Naruto followed the woman he assumed to be Anko to the forest of death, where Anko stopped and sat down in a clearing inside the forest. Sitting down as well, Anko began and said, my name is Anko Mitarashi and I am a special Jonin of Konoha. I like dango, performing tea ceremonies, my friends Kurenai and Yugao Azuki, and training. I dislike ignorant villagers, and my old sensei. My dream is to kill my old sensei and to become the #1 IT person in the village. Okay, now it is your turn. Naruto began saying, my name is Naruto Uzumaki and I am a genin of Konoha. I like ramen, my precious people, and training. I dislike hateful villagers and perverts. My dream is to become the strongest ninja in the elemental nations to protect those important to me. Anko smiled and held out her hand and said, nice to meet you, Naruto. Naruto took her hand and shook it firmly before they dropped their hands. Anko looked at Naruto with an evil smirk and said, okay, now that is out of the way, now we will begin your test. From what I have heard, it should be interesting. To test your abilities, we are going to have an all-out spar. The winner is the first person to give up or put the other person in a position where they could have been killed. Everything is legal in the fight except actually killing each other. I have already decided that you have what it takes to be a ninja, so this is just a test for me to see what you got. Naruto nodded and stood up. Once he was on his feet, he made a hand sign that Anko didn't recognize and felt Naruto release a plus of chakra. Anko got up too and raised an eyebrow and asked, what did you just do, Gaki? Naruto smiled and said, simple, I just released my training seals so I can go all out in this fight. Anko nodded and both of them got in a fighting stance. Once they were both ready, Anko said, Come at me with the intent to kill. Ready, set, go. Naruto moved forward in a flash of pure speed that a newly minted genin shouldn't have been able to do and engaged a surprised Anko in a taijutsu battle. Anko dodged and blocked with practiced ease, but she could feel the power behind Naruto's strikes and knew that with some extra training he would be a powerhouse. Naruto on the same note was smiling, knowing he could finally push his limits. Not holding anything back, Naruto put his full force behind his strikes and used his instincts to help him block Anko's strikes. They jumped away from each other to get some space and to regroup when Naruto called out and said, "Well, I guess I should get serious now." Anko looked at him like he was crazy and saw his eyes change color from blue to purple. Before she could comment, Naruto was attacking again, but this time he was much faster and managed to get a few hits in before Anko's surprise wore off. They broke apart again and Anko huffed and said, "Wow, you are really fast for a fresh out of the academy genin." Naruto smirked and said, "I am just getting warmed up, but I think it is time we kick it up a notch." Naruto made a cross hand sign and called out, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." After the smoke cleared, 6 Narutos stood in front of Anko and they moved to surround her. Anko was in the middle of a circle of 6 clones when the real Naruto called out another jutsu as the others went through a long string of hand signs. The real Naruto called out, "Gravity style, gravity chains." Suddenly Anko felt a huge weight on her body and it was extremely difficult to move. Not soon after, the 5 clones finished their hand seals and called out their respective jutsus: fire, water, wind, earth, lightning style, dragon missile. 5 elemental dragons flew at Anko as she stared wide-eyed at the combination attack that was moving towards her. With an immense effort, Anko made a single hand sign and switched places with a log outside the clearing. The 5 jutsus clashed, causing a huge explosion and made a crater in the center of the clearing. Anko reappeared in the clearing and asked, "How the hell did you do that? You just used every type of elemental chakra and those jutsus are high-ranking. I mean, it is a very impressive combination, but you will have to do better to beat me." Naruto smiled at her and said simply, "Okay." Going through more hand seals, Naruto slammed his hand on the ground and called out, "Summoning Jutsu." 5 puffs of smoke appeared around Naruto. Once the smoke cleared, 5 foxes stood around Naruto, each wearing battle armor and wielding a weapon of some kind. The foxes were on their hind legs and walked closer to Naruto. The leader looked at Naruto and said, "How may we serve you, Naruto-sama?" Naruto spoke in a commanding voice as Anko stared in shock at the sight before her. "I am in a spar with my sensei, don't kill her, just cause some damage." The 5 warrior foxes nodded and moved forward to engage Anko. Anko snapped out of her stupor just in time to avoid the first attacks of Naruto's warrior summons. Making a tactical retreat, Anko began going through hand seals and summoned a giant snake that dwarfed the 5 foxes that were attacking. The foxes went back to Naruto's side at the sight of the snake and Naruto called up to Anko, calling out the big guns, "Well, two can play that game." Running through the necessary hand seals, Naruto gathered a huge amount of his chakra and summoned the boss of the fox contract. Anko stared up at the summoned animal in front of her and flinched in fear. Standing before her was a blood-red fox with 9 tails. Kyuubi looked up at Naruto and said, "Was it really necessary to summon me? I mean, it seems a little bit of overkill." Naruto looked at Anko's terrified face and said, "No, this is totally worth it as a prank and it makes sure that Anko knows who she is dealing with." Meanwhile, every Jonin and a majority of the Chunin stopped as they felt the evil chakra that they were all too familiar with. Instantly, the ninja that knew what the chakra was headed to the Hokage mansion for orders. Sarutobi felt the chakra too and started to sweat, knowing the destruction it could cause. He pulled out his seeing orb and found Naruto on top of the Kyuubi in it. He took in the sight and noticed the spiked collar around the Kyuubi's neck. Sarutobi calmed down slight before he realized that he would have to explain this to the ninja that were undoubtedly on their way to him now. Back with Naruto. "Hey Naruto, I can feel the old man looking at us now with that all-seeing orb of his. We need to wrap this up because I sense a lot of activity from the ninja in the village, stated a neutral Kyuubi. Naruto swore saying, crap, I forgot that your Yuki would be sensed 10 miles away. The old man must have felt it too and decided to check that you were not trying to break out or worse succeeded in breaking the seal. Quickly Naruto called down to Anko and said, surrender or face the might of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Anko called back in a slightly quivering tone, I surrender. Naruto dismissed Kyuubi and his other summons and landed on the ground followed by Anko. Naruto smiled at Anko and said, well, that was fun. Anko stared at him for a second with a blank expression before asking in a completely calm voice, you can summon the Kyuubi to do your bidding. Naruto responded in a happy voice, well, yes and no. Yes, I can summon her to the battlefield to be a scare factor, but if she uses any of her power while summoned, the seal will cause me and her extreme pain. Anko raised an eyebrow and said, wait a minute, did you say she? Naruto nodded in confirmation before Anko burst out laughing before saying, that is hilarious, the most powerful being on this plane of existence is a girl, take that you bastards. Naruto laughed as well and said, it is hilarious, I laughed too when I found out. Anko calmed down before saying, okay, well, now that we are done, I expect you at the mission hall tomorrow so we can begin taking missions. Naruto saluted and said, all right, see you then. Anko nodded and said, dismissed. Naruto left in a shunshin and went back to his apartment to rest after the harsh and chakra-draining battle, but to avoid the mob of demon haters that were sure to be out looking for him. Anko shunshined out of the clearing as well but headed to the Hokage's office to report. The Hokage had managed the situation with the incident involving the release of the Kyuubi's chakra and now had all the Jonin were once again all standing in front of their Hokage, when the Hokage said, report. The Jonin in the room listed of the either pass or failure of their genin team one by one. Team 1, fail. Team 2, fail. Team 3, fail. Team 4, fail. Team 5, fail. Team 6, fail. Team 7, pass. Team 8, pass. Team 10, pass. Team 11, pass. All the Jonin in the room stared at Anko like she was crazy. Anko glared back and said, what? He was able to use the summoning jutsu to summon foxes, he could use every element nature and he had a funky dojutsu. The kid could keep up with me even when I was pushing high chunin speed and strength, all the Jonin were shocked to say the least. The Hokage nodded and said, all right then, you are all dismissed. All the Jonin left the room before the Hokage turned his chair to look out over the village and said to no one in particular, I am getting too old for this sort shit. Time skip. Hour. The Hokage was finishing up his work for the day when someone burst through the door. Looking up, Sarutobi noticed the blonde-haired boy that was walking in. Sarutobi said in a kind voice, hello Naruto, what brings you here? Naruto looked at the Hokage with a serious expression and said, I came here to talk to you about my heritage since I am officially a ninja. No, the civilian council can't touch me, and don't give me that crap about you not knowing what I am talking about because, I know, you know. Besides, I already know who my parents are, and I want what they left to me after they passed. The Hokage looked at Naruto with shock before becoming serious and saying, Naruto, I was only protecting you, your father has many enemies and your mother had quite a few as well. Naruto nodded and said, I understand that I have accepted it, but I don't plan on taking my full name just yet. After the Chunin exams I want you to reveal my heritage to the village. But for right now I want what is rightfully mine. Alright Naruto, here is the entire portfolio of legal and financial document pertaining to you, said the Hokage as he handed Naruto a storage scroll that he had pulled out of a drawer. Your new house uses a blood seal for the lock so you will be able to get in because you are the heir to the house. Everything else should be in the house along with Minato's and Kushina's jutsu library. Naruto nodded and said, thanks Gigi, I will be moving in today if that is alright. That is fine Naruto, go right ahead, it is your house now, said Sarutobi. Okay then, I will see you later. Oh, and by the way, why don't you use shadow clones to do your work? I mean, you still receive the memories, so you are completely in control and you know what is going on with the village, said a curious Naruto. Sarutobi stared at Naruto with wide eyes and then reached into his desk and pulled out an envelope with the words, "For when you figure out the secret to beating paperwork," written on it with a chibi picture of Jiraiya on it. Sarutobi opened the envelope and took out a target and placed it on his desk before he proceeded to slam his head against the desk. While this was happening, Naruto was laughing at the Hokage's antics and said a quick goodbye before slipping out to move into his new house. Naruto awoke with a yawn and stretched his arms while he looked around his new room in the master bedroom for his family's house. He had to admit his parents had great taste. The house sat on a massive piece of land that would have eventually been used to expand the clan. The main and only house on the property was a massive 10-bedroom house, each with its own bathroom. The downstairs have a large kitchen with an attached dining room, a living room that could hold a party of 50 people comfortably, and a study that had some of his father's unfinished projects inside. The basement was a massive jutsu library which had shelves of techniques that would make Orochimaru jealous. In the back of the library were 2 scrolls that contained his parents' personal jutsus and weapons. Behind the house were a training field and a hot spring. The property was 20 acres and was surrounded by a stone wall that was 10 feet tall. The wall had fuin carved into it that created a barrier over the whole compound that made it impossible for someone to enter unless they go through the front gate, which only Naruto could open. Getting out of bed, Naruto got ready for the day. After he had finished his morning ritual, he went down to his parents' library and picked up his mother's and father's scroll and sealed them away for later study when he was bored. He then walked outside to the training field and created 300 shadow clones. He then unsealed the Academy blood clone and began giving directions. Okay, I want 100 of you guys to practice the kunai balancing exercise while tree walking to increase our chakra control. I want 50 of you to go to the library and begin to read any material on sub-element and fuinjutsu. I want 50 more of you to start practicing the sensor jutsu Iruka gave us. I want to be able to it without hand seals. I want another 50 of you guys to work on our taijutsu katas. The last 50 of you, I want you guys so begin working on the jutsus in the library, finished a stern Naruto. Naruto receiving a chorus of yes sir from his clones in return to his orders. Naruto turned to look at his blood clones and said, I want you to supervise and to replace any of the shadow clones that use all their chakra. The blood clone saluted and said, yes sir Naruto-sama. Naruto nodded and turned to leave. Walking to the front gate, Naruto walked out and locked the gate behind him. Naruto then shined to the mission hall to meet Anko. Mission hall. Naruto arrived at the mission hall and walked inside. As he entered the mission hall, Naruto looked around and noticed Anko waiting for him at the mission desk. As soon as Anko saw him, she waved and said, hey there Gaki, ready to start taking missions. Anko turned to the Chunin that was giving out missions and said, hey, mission dude, we would like a mission. The Chunin looked at Anko with a small frown and said, here you go, as he handed Anko a scroll. Anko looked at the scroll and frowned before looking back at the Chunin and said, oh hell no, we are not doing D-rank missions. The Chunin looked at her and said, the Hokage gave me strict instructions saying that your team had to them just like any other team. Anko frowned, but this is when Naruto decided to speak up and ask the Chunin, how many D-rank missions does a team have to do before they can accept a higher rank mission? The Chunin looked at Naruto and said, well, it is usually 30 D ranks for every C rank mission for genin teams, why do you ask? Naruto looked at him with an evil smirk before saying, oh, no reason. Naruto then made the hand seal required for the shadow clone and created 90 clones, which filled the empty lobby of the mission hall. Naruto then looked back to the slack-jawed Chunin and said, I would like 30 D rank missions please. The Chunin was too shocked to argue, just handed Naruto a stack of scrolls. Naruto then turned around and started handing out the scrolls out to his clones before saying, "Alright, break up into groups of 3, and every group has to have a scroll. Once that is done, go complete the task described in the scroll and return the signed mission scroll to this Chunin at the desk." Once Naruto finished talking, the clones saluted and began to file out of the building to complete their assignments. The real Naruto then turned to a speechless Anko. Naruto spoke up saying, "Alright, why don't we go train for a few hours before we go grab lunch?" Anko nodded and walked out with Naruto, both of them heading to the Forest of Death. Time skip. Hour. Forest of Death. Naruto was currently in a clearing waiting for his sensei to attack from anywhere. He could tell she was there, but where was unknown to him. Suddenly hands shot out from under him and he got pulled underground up to his head. After struggling for a minute, he looked up to see Anko smirking at him with success. But Naruto smirked right back and said, "I would be so confident just yet, Anko-chan, especially since the boss has you right where he wants you." Anko looked around rapidly to see thousands of shuriken flying at her from all directions. Unable to dodge, Anko thought quickly and began running through hand seals at an astonishing rate before slamming her hands on the ground and saying, "Earth style, Earth encampment dome." A dome of earth surrounded Anko just before thousands of shuriken hit with a solid thud. With a poof, the thousands of shuriken disappeared to revealing 10 real shuriken while the others were shadow clones. Naruto landed in front of the dome with an evil grin before making a single hand seal. Then taking a deep breath and exhaling a fireball that would put the Uchiha clan's signature fire technique to utter shame. Anko began to sweat as the air in the dome began to heat rapidly. Anko began to freak out as her student baked her alive inside her own defensive jutsu. Naruto began to see cracks in the earth dome when he stopped his fireball. Jumping back, Naruto began to charge lightning chakra to his fist. As the earth dome collapsed and Anko stepped out, Naruto sprinted at her with his fist cocked back. Caught off guard, Anko attempted to block the punch with her arm only to receive a severe shock. Both people jumped back to get some air. Naruto and Anko stared each other down, trying to predict each other's next move. Both rushed forward and began a fierce taijutsu battle with neither party giving an inch. Breaking apart once again, Anko looked at Naruto and said, "Well, this is fun, Naruto-kun, but I have won." Naruto looked her like she was insane and asked, "How do you figure that you won?" Anko just simply pointed up. Naruto raised an eyebrow and looked up to see what she was pointing at. As Naruto looked up, he saw a snake clone of Anko about a foot from his face, ready to give Naruto a chakra-infused dropkick to the head. Before Naruto could do anything to stop the blow to hit home, rendering him unconscious. Time skip. 10 minutes. Naruto woke up with a groan and held his head due to the throbbing pain radiating from there. Getting over the pain, Naruto looked around to see Anko sitting on a tree stump watching him. Once Naruto made eye contact, Anko spoke up, "Impressive. For most people, that attack would render them dead or unconscious for several days." Naruto replied with a huff, "I heal fast due to Kyuubi and the fact that Uzumakis have advanced healing rates to begin with." Nodding her head, Anko said, "Well, now that you're awake, I want to talk to you about our spar. You did very well with the restrictions to weapons, taijutsu and any ninjutsu that could be used in collaboration with the 2 previous mentioned ninja arts. But you lack experience in fighting hand to hand. You also allowed your senses to hone in on me solely. This is bad because another ninja could easily take you out from another angle as you are fighting another ninja. But if I had to rank your skill level, one would say you are low to mid chunin, but that is due mostly to your lack of combat experience. With that being said, I think we can call it a day for training. But I want you at the mission hall tomorrow so we can get a C rank mission, no better practice than in the field." Naruto nodded his head and said, "Alright, that sounds good, see you later, Anko-chan." Naruto disappeared in a shunshin, leaving Anko alone to contemplate the insanity that was Naruto. Naruto's house. Naruto appeared right in front of the gate that leads on to the Namikaze Uzumaki land. Unsealing the front gate, Naruto walked to his house and went up to the master bedroom that once belonged to his parents. Lying down on the bed, Naruto closed his eyes to take a nap before his date with Hinata tonight. Time skip. Naruto woke up from his nap with sigh. Getting up, Naruto went downstairs and out to the training field to see how his clones were progressing. Walking outside, Naruto saw his clones working hard and he walked up to the blood clone that was supervising the training. Naruto cleared his throat to get the clone's attention before commanding, "Status report." The clone saluted before saying, "We have accomplished a lot today, sir. The clones polishing your taijutsu technique have run through the katas perfectly, and the clones working on the sub-elements have managed to find information on Wu's release and have started to try and grow a tree, but progress on that seems to be slow." Nodding, Naruto said, "Thank you. Now please disperse the clones 10 at a time every 5 minutes. The clone turned around and began giving orders to the other clones to start dispersing. As this was happening, Naruto walked away to go get ready for his date. Time skip. Naruto was walking toward the Hyuga compound in a black suit that made him look really classy. Part of the time he trained with Kyuubi, Kyuubi taught him how to act in public and how to be gentleman when taking a girl out, and Naruto was really happy that she did at the moment. As Naruto rounded to corner, he saw the entrance to the compound in front of him with guards at the entrance. Walking up to the guards, Naruto bowed and the guard returned the gesture. Standing back up, Naruto said, "I am here to pick up Hinata Hyuga for our date." One of the guards spoke up and said, "Come with me, Hiyashi-sama would like to speak with you before you go out with his daughter." Nodding, Naruto followed the guard through the compound to a study in the main house. The guard turned around at the entrance and said, "Hiyashi-sama is expecting you." Naruto nodded and walked into the study, closing the sliding door behind him. Naruto saw Hiyashi behind a desk waiting for Naruto to sit down. Naruto sat down in front of Hiyashi and waited for him to speak. After a long period of silence, Hiyashi finally spoke, "What are your intentions with my daughter, Naruto-san?" Naruto simply smiled and said, "To take her out to have a nice dinner and to talk so I can get to know her better." Hiyashi was quiet for a moment before saying, "You may take her out, Naruto-san, but be warned, if you hurt her I will personally make it so you can't have children. Am I clear?" "Crystal, Hiyashi-sama," said a serious Naruto. "You may leave and you can pick up Hinata at the front entrance," said an equally as serious Hiyashi. Naruto got up and left the room. Once out of the study, the guard to Naruto back to the front entrance where Hinata was waiting for him. As Naruto neared Hinata, he asked, "Ready to go, Hinata-chan?" The lavender-eyed girl nodded in confirmation. Naruto looked her over and thought about how beautiful she was in her dress. Naruto then took her by the hand and they began to walk to the restaurant district of Konoha. As soon as Naruto grabbed Hinata's hand, her face became a bright red and she thought, "He is holding my hand." Naruto and Hinata walked in silence due to Naruto not knowing what to say and Hinata being too shy to say anything. Naruto eventually stopped with Hinata in front of a fancy restaurant. Hinata gasped as she read the name of the restaurant and then looked at Naruto and said, "Naruto, you shouldn't have. This is the Twirling Leaf, one of the hardest restaurants to get reservations in the village." Naruto smiled at her and said, "Well, only the best for my dates." Hinata almost started crying when she heard that but kept her composure as to avoid ruining the date. They both walked inside with Naruto leading the way. They went up to the host and Naruto said, "Table for 2 under uzumaki." The host looked at the list and when he came to Naruto's reservation he widened his eyes considerably before snapping his head back up and saying with a smile, "Right this way, Uzumaki-sama." They followed the host to an elevator where they were then taken to the 3rd floor. The host then brought them to a private room that looked stunning. Naruto pulled Hinata's chair out for her and then sat himself down. Once he sat down, Hinata asked the question that was on her mind. Naruto, how did you get a reservation here? My father has trouble getting reservations for the first floor and he has enormous influence because he is the head of the Hyuga clan and a member of the village council. I mean, this is the third floor, reserved for the owners and the richest patrons. How did you get a table here? Naruto looked at her with a smile and said while rubbing the back of his head, well, you see, I sort of own the place outright. To say Hinata was surprised was an understatement. The look of pure shock and surprise on Hinata's face caused Naruto to start snickering as a waiter came into the room and asked if they would like anything to drink. Naruto responded to the waiter by saying, water for now, please. The waiter nodded and left the room. After the waiter left the room, Hinata snapped out of her shock and decided to follow up on her previous question by asking, Naruto, how do you own this place? As far as I know, you don't belong to a clan and aren't rich or anything. Naruto gave a sheepish smile to Hinata before saying, well, you see, I actually come from a very important clan that helped in the founding of Konoha. The Uzumaki clan is actually from Uzushiogakure and was allies with the Senju clan. It is because of this that my clan invested a lot of money into Konoha, and as a result I own everything they invested in because I am the last Uzumaki as far as I know. Once again Hinata was shocked by the information that Naruto told her and said, wow, I mean, I never knew that there was another founding clan besides the Senju and Uchiha. Naruto nodded and said, my clan doesn't get much public credit for our contribution. Actually, most people have forgotten about my clan, but our symbol is part of Konoha's symbol and on the back of the Chunin and Jonin vests. Hinata nodded and decided to drop the current conversation when she noticed something strange. Curious, she asked Naruto, hey Naruto, why are there no menus? Naruto responded, because you don't need to order. The chefs here have this uncanny ability to cook exactly what every individual patron wants without ever meeting them. To be honest, it is creepy on how accurate they get it sometimes. After that, Naruto decided to ask a question of his own. So Hinata, how is Team 8 doing with training so far? Hinata frowned at the question before replying, it is fine, but Kiba keeps trying to get a date with me no matter how many times I turn him down. Shino is a nice guy, but he can creepy with his quiet attitude and his bugs. Naruto laughed and said, well, I have a mission tomorrow, but when I get back, how about you and me have a training session? I am sure I can help you improve if you are up to it. Hinata smiled sheepishly and said, I would love to train with you. Naruto, just drop by training ground 8 the morning after you get back and you can hide to my team before you and I go to train alone. Naruto nodded and said, sounds like a plan. Following up on his response, Naruto asked another question, hey Hinata, I want to get to know you better, so would mind telling me about yourself, likes, dislikes, dreams, I want to hear it all. Hinata smiled before saying, only if you return the favor and tell me about yourself. Naruto nodded and said, that sounds fair, but since I asked first, you can go first. Hinata nodded in acceptance before she started to tell Naruto about her likes, dislikes and dream for the Hyuga clan. After Hinata finished telling Naruto about herself, the food came. Naruto then started to tell Hinata about himself while he ate his miso ramen. After dinner, Naruto and Hinata left the restaurant and Naruto then led Hinata to the top of the Hokage monument where they looked out over the village. When they got to the top of the monument, Hinata looked over the entire village and saw a glimmering gem. Hinata muttered a silent wow as Naruto turned to her and said, beautiful, isn't it? This is one of my favorite places to come and think when life becomes too confusing or when I want to clear my head from stress. I wanted to share this spot with you and I thought it would be a nice end to the date. Hinata smiled at Naruto and said in a quiet voice, I had a wonderful time, Naruto, and I can't wait to spend more time with you when you get back from your mission. Naruto smiled and said, I am glad you had fun, but now I should bring you home before your father gets too worried and sends out a search party. I rather not have mad Hyuga clansmen after me. Hinata giggled and nodded and the duo left to the Hyuga compound. They walked hand in hand to the Hyuga compound. As they neared the entrance to the compound, Naruto stopped, which caused Hinata turn to face him. Naruto then pulled Hinata into a hug and said, "Bye Hinata-chan, see you in a few days." After that, Naruto pulled back and placed a gentle kiss on Hinata's lips. Hinata instantly went bright red and fainted, causing the guards nearby instantly rushes over to see if their clan heir was okay. Upon seeing the blush on Hinata's face, the lead guard looked at Naruto and said, "We will take it from here, Naruto-san." As the guard finished talking to Naruto, the other guard had picked Hinata up bridal style and had begun to walk into the compound. Naruto had a red tint to his face at the embarrassing moment that just happened. Naruto had not expected for Hinata to faint. It didn't register that someone said something to him until the guards had walked through the gate. Naruto muttered a quiet, "Thanks," after realizing what the guard had said. After dropping Hinata off at her family's compound, Naruto then shined to his house, so he could rest for the mission tomorrow. Naruto's house. Naruto woke up and stretched to work the last traces of sleep out of his system. Going through his normal morning routine, Naruto got ready for the day. After he finished his morning routine, Naruto began to pack supplies into a backpack. Sealing extra weapons and supplies into storage seals stitched into the fabric on the inside of the pockets. After Naruto packed enough supplies for 3 weeks of survival, Naruto shouldered the pack and shined to the gate of the compound. Going through the gate, Naruto made sure to lock the gate behind him to stop anyone from getting onto his property. Turning away from the gate, Naruto started running to the mission hall to meet Anko. Mission hall. Naruto arrived at the mission hall and walked inside. Naruto looked around and saw no sign of his sensei, so he decided to get a C-rank mission for the team while he waited for Anko to arrive. Walking up to the Chunin at the desk, Naruto smiled and said, "Hey, I would like to get a C-rank mission, please." The mission Chunin nodded and said, "Alright, and what genin team are you on? Just need to make sure your team cleared the D-rank mission requirement." Naruto smirked before saying, "I am on Team 11 and we finished 30 D-rank missions yesterday, so I believe we can get a C rank." The Chunin looked at Naruto with amusement and said, 30 huh, well let's just check to make sure." The Chunin took out Team 11's file and looked at the mission log. After a minute, the Chunin looked at Naruto, then the file, then back to Naruto before saying, 30, but that blows the old record for most number of D-rank missions in one day out of the water. I mean, the old record was 6 and that record was set by the 3rd Hokage's genin team. Naruto smiled at the Chunin and said, "Well, I doubt many genin know the shadow clone technique." The Chunin nodded dumbly at the blonde and said, "Well, there is a note in the file here that says you will be receiving your first C rank from the 3rd Hokage personally, so you can head up there and wait for your sensei before you get your mission." Nodding, Naruto simply shined in front of the Hokage's office and walked inside. Naruto gave a wave to the Hokage as he walked in and said, "Hey Gigi, why did you want to see me?" The Hokage sighed before saying, "Hello Naruto, it is good to see you. The reason I called you in is to talk about the C rank mission, but since you are here early, I have something else I need to tell you." Naruto gave the old Hokage a questioning look before the Hokage began to speak again. "You see Naruto, since you have such a powerful and important bloodline, you are by Konoha law to be put under the Clan Restoration Act so you can rebuild your clan." Naruto gave the Hokage a blank emotionless stare before saying in a monotone voice, "During my training under Kyuubi, she made me learn about Konoha's laws, both shinobi and civilian, so I would know my rights and could defend myself against the civilian council. One of the laws I came across was the CRA and I was afraid this may happen, but it is law, I won't dispute it or the fact that I qualify for it, since I do. But I have a few stipulations since the certain terms of the CRA are dictated by the current Hokage. 1. I don't want to be forced into a marriage, I would rather marry out of love. 2. My future wives can choose whether to have kids or not, it is their choice and no one else's. 3. The council can't demand me to have children and can't dictate how many children I have or I will leave the village. The Hokage nodded and said, "That will be fine. I would hate to force you into a relationship that you were unhappy with, but according to the CRA you must marry at least 3 women before you turn 18, which gives you 6 years to get married. I will eventually have to tell the council about your dujutsu, but I don't plan on announcing your status in the CRA to the council until after I announce your heritage at the end of the Chunin exams, because at that point I hope that the fact that you have a dujutsu will be out of the bag." As the Hokage finished, the door to the office opened, revealing a cheerful Anko. The Hokage looked at her and said, "Alright, on time Anko, nice to see you. And I called you and Naruto here to give you your first mission outside the village. For that mission you will be investigating reports of a bandit camp in a town nearby and eliminating it before it can become a nuisance." Naruto and Anko nodded and the Hokage handed Anko the mission scroll. Anko looked over the mission details before bowing to the Hokage and turning to leave. Naruto waved bye to the Hokage and followed Anko out the door. Once outside the room, Anko turned to face Naruto and said, "Alright, I want you to go pack for 2-week mission and meet me at the west gate in a half hour." Naruto nodded before saying, "I am actually already packed, so I will see you at the gate in a half hour, but right now I am going to go kill some time." "Alright then, see you at the gate and don't be late." "Got it. I would hate for you to become like Kakashi." Naruto laughed before saying, "Don't worry about me, I am just going to go read in the park near the gate, so I won't be that far." Anko nodded before making a hand seal and disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto walked out of the Hokage mansion and headed towards the west gate, all the while reading his mother's jutsu scroll. He was currently reading about a jutsu that was an extremely long-range fire-style technique. It basically shot extremely condensed fireballs over a large distance to harass enemy ninja and cause some damage before the main confrontation. Naruto was trying to memorize the hand seals required so he could practice the technique later when he had time. Naruto enjoyed learning a jutsu himself every once in a while. He especially loved learning his parents' techniques, and from the list in each scroll Naruto could tell they were formidable ninja. Reaching the west gate, Naruto sat down on a bench right inside the entrance to the village and waited for Anko to arrive. Anko arrived 10 minutes later and Naruto got up and joined Anko at the gate. They then ran out of the village. They jumped into the forest and booked it to the town with the bandit problem. Time skip. Hour. Naruto and Anko had made great time in getting to the town in which they were commissioned. Landing in front of the entrance, Anko turned to Naruto and said, "Alright, I want you to go book us 2 rooms at the local inn and then to try to collect information about the bandit group in the area from the townspeople. I will be meeting with the mayor of the town to get information and to hammer out the details of payment and the finer details of the mission. In an hour I want to meet back up and we will scout the area around the town to see where the bandit base is located." Naruto nodded with a serious face and said, "Alright, I will see you in an hour." Naruto walked down the street while Anko disappeared to complete her task. It didn't take Naruto long to find the inn in the small town and to book the 2 rooms for Anko and himself. Naruto then explored the rest of the town while trying to overhear the townspeople as they talk and gossip. Naruto was disappointed in the amount of information that he was able to collect for the people that lived in the town, but he was able to get a general location of the bandit camp, so that would make searching less of a hassle. Naruto walked to the meeting point to go search the area in which the bandit camp was supposed to be, with Anko. Naruto arrived at the meeting point and didn't see Anko. Naruto looked around and waited for Anko to finish her task. Naruto waited a few minutes before he saw her coming up the road to meet him. Anko walked up to Naruto and said, "Hey Gaki, so what information did you find out?" Naruto smiled and said, "I actually found out the general location of the bandit camp, so I say we go find the camp and observe them for a while." Anko nodded and said, "I agree with your plan, so let's go check out what we have to deal with and we will make a plan from there." Naruto nodded and said, Alright then, let's go, I will lead the way. Naruto ran out of the town with Anko following close behind. Running through the forest, Naruto and Anko searched the area around the village, and after about 2 hours of searching they found the bandit camp. Naruto and Anko sat at the edge of the clearing the bandit camp was in and watched the bandits from the safety of the trees. Naruto and Anko sat in silence watching the targets move, taking note of patrol patterns and any people in the camp that may be a threat. They also took note of the largest tent in the center of camp. They observed for a few hours before Anko motioned to Naruto to fall back. Naruto and Anko moved away from their perch watching the camp. Once they were away from the bandit camp, Anko spoke, "Alright, this looks like a very low quality operation. The highest chakra level one sensed was around high genin, but there may be a ninja among their ranks that can suppress their chakra. So I say that we head back to the inn and make a plan of attack." Naruto nodded and said, "Alright, let's get going then." Time skip. Several hours later. Naruto and Anko were on either side of the bandit camp wearing radios so they can communicate. Anko's voice came on over the radio and said, "Commence with Phase 1 of Operation Hellfire." Naruto responded, "Roger." Naruto made a cross-hand seal and created 100 clones that spread out around the perimeter of the camp. Then simultaneously all the clones went through the hand seals and whispered their various techniques. The bandit camp was bombarded with dragon missiles, fireballs, mini typhoons and giant chunks of earth falling from the sky. Once the techniques stopped raining down upon the camp, the bandits were in a frenzy, moving in every direction trying to figure out what happened. Naruto and Anko moved forward and started to take out the remaining bandits that were left after the initial bombardment. With Anko was slashing bandits with her kunai in the frenzy of the initial attack and was making her way to the center of the camp towards the leader's tent. But before she made it there, a person stepped in front of her and pulled a blade from his back. Anko made a subconscious slash at the man in front of her and was surprised when the man in front of her blocked the strike. Anko suddenly became alert and focused on the bandit's chakra level. She was surprised to feel it rising from that of a high genin to that of a jonin level ninja. Anko fell into her snake-style stance and prepared for a fight as the man in front of her suddenly rushed forward in a burst of speed. Bring down his sword at Anko as he ran. Anko met his sword with a kunai, deflecting the path of the sword so it wouldn't hit her. The blades met in a clash of sparks and the two ninja glared at each other, each trying to intimidate the other. Meanwhile, with Naruto, the blonde boy had his clones converged on the camp right after his techniques ended. It was slaughterhouse and the blonde boy could only thank Kyuubi for preparing him for his first kills with the memories of thousands of deaths that Kyuubi had caused or seen, so he wouldn't freeze when he did it. Naruto and his clones were making sure none of the bandits escaped the camp and wiping out the bandits in the process. Naruto himself ran towards the center to confront the leader of the bandits. Naruto made it to the center of the camp and burst inside the tent to confront the leader of the bandits. Once inside, Naruto was surprised to see a tall man with huge muscles sitting in a chair facing the door. The man was calm and confident from what Naruto could tell from his posture. Standing up, the man spoke with a deep voice to Naruto, "So they send a genin to take me out? Well, I guess this will be easy." At the end of the sentence, the man rushed forward and punched Naruto directly in the gut with a chakra-laced punch. Naruto went flying back and hit a tree at the edge of the clearing in which the bandit camp was in. Naruto gathered his wits before thinking, "Damn it, this guy is strong. I guess I will have to take this seriously." Naruto's eyes changed color from the brilliant blue to a pale purple and he got up to face his opponent. The man had left his tent and he was walking toward Naruto, seeing no need to rush in killing the brat. The man raised an eyebrow when he saw the boy getting up and he said, "I am impressed. That kind of punch would knock most genin out." Naruto looked the man in the eyes with his dujutsu and said, "Well, I guess I am not a normal genin now, am I?" The man replied smugly, "Well, I doubt you are strong enough to beat me even if you are a strong genin." Naruto smirked and said, "It is only a title, true power is earned through hard work." Naruto disappeared from view with a burst of speed and appeared behind the man. Naruto gave a strong kick to the man's back and sent him flying. The man did a flip in the air and landed on his feet. The man then took out brass knuckles and disappeared from view too. Moments later, the two opponents clashed and engaged in a furious taijutsu battle, with both of them receiving cuts and bruises. They broke apart and jumped back to gain some distance from each other. Both were panting from exertion, but Naruto stood up straight and created 6 clones and surrounded the leader with them. The man was starting to get mad. How a genin could compete with him was unthinkable. The man looked around at his current situation, he ready for a multi-front attack. Naruto then called out a jutsu, gravity style, almighty push. The leader of the bandit felt himself get pushed by an unknown force towards a waiting clone that had his fist cocked. The clone hit the man with a chakra-enhanced punch, sending him to another clone that repeated the process until the leader was sent back to the real Naruto. With an uppercut, Naruto sent his enemy high into the air. He then appeared above the bandit leader and did a drop kick to the man's back and said in a serious voice, "Uzumaki barrage." The kick sent his enemy hurtling towards earth at an extremely high speed. With a sickening crack, the man's head hit the earth below and the body crumpled as it followed. Naruto landed beside the leader and sighed. He had just taken a jonin in a fight and survived. Naruto looked around and saw Anko finish off a man that she was fighting with a kunai across the neck. Naruto walked towards Anko across a field of dead bodies. Coming closer, Naruto called out, "Hey sensei, I think we can call this mission a success." Anko nodded her head and said, "We aren't done yet. We still have to loot the place and burn all the bodies and whatever we don't want before we can call it a night." "Alright then, I will make some clones and we can get this done," said a serious Naruto. Anko nodded again and said, "Good idea, why don't you loot and collect anything we can sell or use, and I will start to gather the bodies so we can burn them. You can help me when you are done." Naruto nodded and created 2 clones and went to work collecting the money and weapons off the bandits. Naruto and his clones collected all the bandits' weapons and sealed them into a scroll. Once Naruto was done, he created several more clones and they went to work collecting the bodies littering the camp and putting them in a pile. Once they were done, Anko did a quick fire jutsu and incinerated the pile. As the flames died down, Anko turned to Naruto and said, "Alright, let's head back to the inn and get some rest. We will leave for Konoha at noon tomorrow." Naruto nodded and said, "Alright, let's get going. I can't wait to get so shut-eye." Anko and Naruto took to the trees, heading back to the town so they could get some sleep. Time skip. Noon next day. Anko and Naruto left the town and started back to the village to report their success. A few hours later, they arrived at the gates of the village and passed the gate guards showing their ninja licenses as they went by. Once inside the gate, Anko turned to Naruto and said, "Alright, you can go, I can give the report by myself." Naruto nodded and said, "Alright, well, here is our half of the loot we got from the bandits." Anko thanked Naruto and walked off to report the Hokage. Naruto headed to his house to get some rest and to read up on his parents' jutsus.